Hey everyone, thank you for joining us again on the Binomo Live. Today we are on a Tuesday. The markets are open. Yesterday the market was half open because you have the European and US markets closed for holidays. But today everyone's back and we are going to be discussing about big news trading. So this is one of the key features. What's unique about trading forex and probably crypto as well, compared to stocks. Because with stocks, you are talking about news that is specific to companies, big economy news, or news that affects countries don't particularly affect stocks as much. But when you're dealing with forex, when you're dealing with crypto, any news that directly impacts countries, big, especially big countries and big economies, it will move currencies, and that's gonna be our focus today. Let me know in the comments if you enjoy trading big news or follow the news at all, and let me know how it is going for you. And we'll be talking about it for a few minutes before we go to do some live analysis on the platform. And probably if we find some good trades, I'm going to open some trades on my platform for you guys to see how I analyze assets and opportunities. Okay, so talking about news, we are really talking about economic news. Okay, we're not talking about normal everyday news. We're talking about economic news, news that affects countries, news that affect the economy, economic data. So what are these, some of these news? We are talking about inflation numbers, we are talking about GDP numbers, we are talking about unemployment numbers, reports that affect reports that affect the price levels. You know, when you're looking at inflation, you really have two numbers. You have the consumer inflation, which is shown by the CPI data, and you also have inflation at the producer or manufacturer level, which is the PPI data, producer price index. And all countries produce this data, so it tells you the different kinds of inflation that's happening in the particular economies that you're looking at. So if you're looking at Australia, you'll be focusing on inflation numbers for Australia. If you're looking at the United States, you're looking at United States inflation numbers, United States CPI and PPI. And when you're looking at the UK, you also or the euro, then you are looking at inflation numbers specific to those countries. Now, of course, when we talk about news being specific to countries, it is not as straightforward as that, because sometimes you're looking at assets like AUD USD. So really, two pieces of news can affect this particular asset. Australia economy news can affect AUD USD, as well as US economy news. It can affect AUD USD. So be mindful of that. Don't think that because you're trading Australian dollar assets, you are not affected by other economic news. Be aware of the economies that are connected to your asset. So if you're talking about AUD USD, strictly speaking, it's not just Australia economic news, it's not just US economic news. You could also be affected by China's economic news. Why? Because Australia is one of China's biggest trading partners, or rather, China is one of Australia's major trading partners. So a slowdown in China's economy is going to immediately affect AUD USD. So that's also important. You need to know something about these countries. So there's a lot of reading going on when you're dealing with news, and especially when you are trying to trade based off of news data. You got to be aware of these things, and there's a lot of research and reading that you have to do. It's not just going to the platform, looking at some charts, and then figuring out whether things are going up or down. There is analysis that you have to do to maximize your chances of being able to make the trade that's going to be in the direction that is most probable, or that is highest probability. Okay. Okay, so if you're looking at trading big news and paying particular attention to economic news, your best friend is obviously the economic calendar. Okay, so you've got to know when different kinds of news are coming out, what week, what day, what time. Okay, so you gotta make sure that if you have open trades when the news come out, then you gotta make sure that you are taking into account the risk. You're taking into account the risk if the news comes out and it goes in the direction of your trade. What is the risk that you're gonna lose money? And if it goes in the direction that is against, if your trade is against the economic news that's coming out, how much you're gonna lose if the worst happens and the news pushes the asset to move in the direction opposite to your trade. So you got to be aware of that. And sometimes when economic news comes out, it moves in the opposite direction of the news. So for example, you are paying attention to Euro USD. So Euro USD is affected by Euro economic news as well as US economic news. Now, whenever you have data that is suggesting high inflation or inflation is staying at a high level for the US, that is indicating that the future interest rates might stay high, it wouldn't be cut, or interest rates in the US might even be raised. It may be increased further. Now, when that happens, you would expect, with that news coming out, high inflation data in the US, you would expect interest rates to go up at some point or stay high. Now, Euro USD would naturally react by going down because Euro would be relatively weak compared to the US dollar because of the news of high inflation in the US. So Euro USD would naturally be going down and showing weakness. Now, but it doesn't happen all the time. So the reality is when news comes out, all the traders around the world, they figure out how they're going to interpret the news. So if they think that it is already factored, they already taken into account high inflation, they already accepted that interest rates are going to stay high, will not be cut, or it will be even be increased, then what tends to happen is the asset will move in the opposite direction of the news, and that is Euro USD will start to climb. And that has happened many times. So don't think that because you understand the news, because you understand the likelihood of the data that's coming out, what the result is going to be, don't think that you're going to make the best trade knowing all these things. The best trade happens when you see the asset moving in a specific direction and you trade in that direction. Okay, it is not about predicting the news. It's not about it is not about you being right about your prediction about the news. The best trades or the most profitable trade that you can make is in the direction of the price action. So the price action only shows itself, price patterns will only show itself after the news is released. So no matter what you did before the news comes out, you can still get it wrong because the news can be a positive or strong US dollar, but the asset could move weak US dollar. It could move higher for Euro USD. So that is basically moving opposite of the news. So be aware of that. Be aware of the fact that it can move in any direction. So the best bet or the best approach is understand what's happening, knowing where the data is most probably going to be. Is it going to be high inflation? Is it going to be low inflation? Okay, and then look at your asset once the news comes out and see the initial reaction, and then open your trades based on the direction of the asset after the news. Okay, now some of you might want to take chances by trading assets before the news comes out. You can do that, of course. It's your trading capital, it's your trading balance, but be mindful of the fact that there is high probability of losing money doing that. Okay, so if you want to open small trades, that's okay. If it fits your trading strategy, if you are the kind of trader that wants to keep risk at a minimum, then only trade when you see the asset moving in a particular direction after the news. Okay, so that's one thing. You got to pay attention to the economic calendar. Now on the platform we also have that. If you go here on the sidebar, you'll see that there is a section for calendar, and if you click that, then you're going to see news. It's going to be shown, well, it's not coming out today, but news will be shown in based on assets as well as based on importance. So you'll be able to see which news are more important than the other, and that's going to be useful. Well, if you can't see it from the platform, then what you can do is you can go to websites like tradingeconomics.com, or you can go to websites like fxstreet.com, and you'll be able to find the economic calendar, and then you can sort by country, and then you can see when it's going to come out. The news is going to be released, what day, what month, what time. Okay, and make sure that you are looking at the correct time zone, because if you look at the wrong time zone, then the news is not going to come out when you're waiting for it on screen. So that's going to be your best friend, the economic calendar. Now, for the first couple of weeks, maybe look at news events that comes out, that is released, and look at your particular assets without making any trades. Now, this is just to observe how assets react to news. Now, once you've gone through that a couple of cycles, have done that a few times, then you will be able to better understand how the asset is going to react. Okay, some assets move very, very slowly, and some assets move very, very make very huge movements. USD JPY or GBP JPY, it'll react aggressively whenever the Japanese Bank of Japan says they're going to raise interest rates, and then you get this violent candle moves on the price chart. Not so with other currencies, because other currencies, it's predicted that the central banks will make decisions to respond to interest rates, or to inflation rather. Now, that's not Bank of Japan, because they have not been touching interest rates for a very long time, except one very recently. So when suddenly they say out of the blue, we're going to start to move the interest rates moving up, then everybody jumps ship, and you see big assets like USD JPY, US dollar yen, as well as pound yen, GBP JPY move very, very aggressively. So be mindful of that. And then some news pieces are really just speeches given by important figures. Example, Jerome Powell is the Federal Reserve Chairman in the US, the central bank in the US. The chairman is Jerome Powell. And then other central banks in other countries also have their chairperson making speeches from time to time. So be aware of that, because when they make speeches, sometimes they give out indication that what they think inflation is, whether they think inflation is high, whether they think inflation is low, and that also, traders also react to that. Okay, and then you have to understand the fact that volatility is going to happen when news events are released, when news economic data is released. So expect that. Don't expect the asset to not move, or don't expect the asset to not change direction. You have to expect volatility. You are in the market, you are trying to trade assets in the market. Volatility is something that you cannot ignore. Now, if you hate volatility, if your trading style or your trading strategy is different, you want to trade something that is low volatility, then stay away from dates of important news being released. When you look at economic calendars, you will be able to see news that are low impact, medium impact, as well as high impact. So stay away from high and medium impact news events. They will cause the highest volatility in assets. Okay, so be aware of your trading style and where the news is going to be. To be safe, whenever you start the week on the Monday, check all the news for the whole week, so that you know what days to avoid and what time you need to avoid and stay away from the market if you have a low volatility trading strategy. Okay, and then is there any positive and negative for big news trading? Well, the positive is the kind of movements that you can get from assets when news events, high impact or medium impact news comes out, is you can get movements that typically take 1 week to happen, take 5 days to happen. You can get all those movements in 1 day. Okay, so it doesn't happen every time, but typically when there's a big event news and something unexpected happens, then you can get 5 days of movement in one session. Okay, so that's a positive for traders when you're trading big news. Now the negative is if you don't understand the news and you didn't expect the asset to move in a particular direction, and you bet you open your trade in one direction, you're going to lose money. You're going to lose money if you don't interpret it correctly, or if you're rushing it, if you have no patience and you go into the market and thinking that I know it's going to move in this direction, so you're overconfident with your position, you open a big trade. That's where you're going to get not so good results. Okay, that's where you're going to get negative results. So the best is for news, as with other kinds of trading, there is volatility, there is unpredictability. So open one small trade at the beginning. Okay, why? Because small trades cannot hurt you. Small trades cannot destroy your trading balance. Okay, and small trades will not mess up your psychology. So open a small trade based on your analysis of the news, based on your analysis of price action after the news, and then if the asset moves in the direction that is correctly that is your analysis and you are correct in your analysis, then you open your second trade that's bigger than the first trade, and then you can open, if it continues to move in the direction that you have analyzed, open a third trade, trade number 3, slightly bigger than trade number 2. So with 3 trades you can go in, you should be able to extract some profit from the market. Okay, now doesn't sound so exciting because you're starting really small, but that is the way you trade safely in the market. You don't want to be in the market getting hurt every time you open your trades. You don't want to be in the market losing money all the time. So one small trade at the beginning. If you make correct analysis and your first trade is profitable, feel free to open your second trade, third trade, and so on. Okay, because you know that the asset is moving in the direction of your analysis, and that's where you want to make profits. Okay, so let me know, do you enjoy trading news on any particular asset? What's your favorite news, and what's your favorite asset to trade whenever news comes out? So for the US related assets, NFP that happens on the first Friday of every month is really big news. Okay, it can really move assets. Non-farm payroll that shows you the employment picture in the US economy, whether the economy is strong or whether the economy is slowing down. And besides that, you have inflation numbers. So there's a couple of inflation numbers in the US. You have PPI for the producer inflation, you have consumer price inflation, CPI, and you also have the core inflation numbers, PCE, which is actually coming out this Friday. I think we have PCE this Friday. Let me see. Yeah, personal consumption expenditure index. That's coming out Friday. So that's the big news for this week for US dollar assets. Okay. And that's it. When you're trading big news, you don't throw away your trading plan. You still need to have a trading plan. You still need to protect your trading psychology, and you need to avoid making mistakes. Okay. One of the best ways to make money trading is to just look at your mistakes and avoid those mistakes. Okay. A lot of times traders don't analyze themselves. They analyze their assets, they analyze economic news, but they don't analyze themselves. When that happens, if you have been making mistakes, you will not be able to fix your mistakes, and therefore you will be making the same kinds of losses every day you go into the market. So avoid that. Be careful about your mistakes. Learn what you like to do and what you don't like to do, and then fix yourself. Okay. So now let's look at some assets. I just want to quickly look at AUD USD because of course that's my favorite asset. And on the 15 minutes time frame, it's been going basically sideways for the rest of the day. At the beginning, you got that jump up, breakout from this flat pattern, and then it immediately reversed almost 100%. So basically, the breakout failed. Okay, the breakout did not succeed, and it went all the way down. This pullback is around 90%. If you put the Fibonacci, is around 90%. If it went all the way down here, then it's probably 100%. Okay, so we went down 90% and then went back up, just before the news came out, and I think today we got the news, home sales, I think, US. Let me see, Tuesday. Yes, correct. So we got the housing price index for March in the US. So that was below expectations, but it was the highest increase in 17 months. Yeah, that price increase, although below expectations or below forecast, it is the highest price increase for home prices in the US over 17 months, over more than 1.5 years. Okay, so traders reacted by voting for US dollar strength. That means US dollar going to be strong relative to the Aussie dollar. So the asset went all the way down. Now this is 100% reversal. In fact, it's even more than 100% because the asset started its upward move from here, and then reversed all the way down, went below the starting price. So that's almost 110% reversal or pullback. And now the asset is recovering a little bit, but what do you think? The sentiment looks like it's strong dollar at the moment, and I think it will not change. It may even continue to be sideways for the rest of the week until we get to Friday, because really traders are not sure what to think because everybody's waiting for the PCE data coming out on Friday. So I think the asset is going to still favor strong dollar mood, and we can get evidence of that if we look at another asset that's affected by the US dollar, which is right here, Euro USD. Let's look at that. Euro USD, let's go 15 minutes, do the same analysis. There you go. Yeah, so it's similar pattern. The asset had a breakout this morning. Okay, had a breakout, pulled back, although not 100%, which means weak US dollar sentiment. And then the asset went high right before the news came out and then pulled down all the way down. So this is more than 100% pullback or reversal on the Fibonacci. And then now it's recovering a little bit, maybe these guys came back. These guys who bought Euro USD now came back and think that this is going to be a bargain. We can buy the asset at a cheaper price, 10864 or something like that. Now, you really want to be careful about this. So if I'm looking at the 15 minutes and I'm looking at the crossover, I've got the moving average line right here. I've got two moving average lines. Let's check it out. I've got the 10 and 20 moving average line, okay, on my Euro USD chart. So it has crossed, the fast line has crossed the slow line from high position moving down. So that means that there is there's selling pressure that's pushing the asset down. So I'm thinking that this is not yet reversed. Okay, it is continuing to go down. Now, for this to be valid, for this moving average cross to be valid, you really want to see where was the bottom or the support before this cross happened. So the bottom before this cross happened is probably right here. Okay, we have one here, but that is a different cross. There's a cross right here, which is a bullish cross. So this is a bearish cross from the two moving averages. So the nearest support is here, and now when the cross happened, it also broke the support level right here. Okay, and now the asset is testing, and it went all the way down, so you could have profited from that, but now it's pulling back up. So for this cross to remain valid, the downtrend for it to remain valid, I want to see that the asset is below this support level, which means it has broken the support level and it needs to stay below the support level. That means that the selling momentum continues. Now, if it suddenly stays above the support level, then it is basically cancelling the moving average signal. Okay, so I will give it 2 or 3 candles and see whether it can come back down and stay below this support level, which is 108,746, around there. Okay, now right now it's starting to stay above the support level, so I'm not going to touch it. Is it going to be an uptrend from here? We don't have a signal right now, because if it's going to be an uptrend, I want the fast moving average line to cross the slow moving average line from low position moving up. So that hasn't happened yet, so I'm not thinking of making any up trades from here. Okay, I don't think there's going to be uptrend from here. It can happen, but I've got to see the 2 moving average to cross first, and then I will consider the possibility of making a trade for the upside. So yeah. Yeah, I'm getting question from Muhammad Shuaib. What do you think, when will CFD be available on live account? When? It's already on the live account. You should be able to trade on the live account with CFDs. Okay? You should be able to do that right now. Okay. I'm coming back to AUD USD, and what's happening is it's pulling up. Now, I don't have my moving average right here in AUD USD, just to show you that there is a different way of looking at it. So if this downward move is going to be a valid downtrend, okay, and then we have this pullback right now. Now, for this downward move to be a valid downtrend, what do I want to see in the price chart? I want to see this this support right here. See this support level right here? This tall, the most recent tall red candle that pushed all the way down here to 0.66516. Okay, that support level needs to be broken. So I know that there is a pullback, and I don't think there is a new uptrend yet. Maybe it's going to be an uptrend. That's okay. If it's going to be an uptrend, then we assess or evaluate the uptrend when that happens. Right now we don't have an uptrend yet. It's just a pullback. So if the downtrend is going to be valid, what will happen is price will continue to come back down. Now, do I open a trade immediately? No. I will wait for this to happen, for this support level 0.66517 to be broken, and then for the candles to stay below that level. When that happens, I'm going to feel more confident, because that's confirmation that the downtrend is continuing, and then I'm going to open my down trade around when that happens. Okay, so right now it's not yet happening. It's consolidating with the pullback, so we will have to see what will happen after the pullback. So that's AUD USD. We don't have a trade right now. We have to wait for the setup to happen. And then for Euro USD, maybe it's trying to be an uptrend right now, but we have to wait. If it's going to be an uptrend, we have to wait for the moving averages to cross. It's not yet happening, so I have to wait. You know, we do have to wait. Okay, so we don't have a ready trade to make today, but I've shared with you my analysis, and that will be along the lines of how I will approach any trading opportunities today. AUD USD, by looking at the candles and marking the nearest support level from that earlier push down. Okay, I will wait for this support level to be broken, and then for Euro USD, I will watch the moving average lines. If it's going to change into an uptrend, I will wait for the cross to happen, and then consider trading that uptrend by making an up trade. But right now, I have to wait, because when there is no setup, you don't force the trade, because that way you will be able to protect your trading balance and your trading account. Okay, so I hope that has been helpful and you've enjoyed it. If you're getting any value from this at all, be sure to like and subscribe, and share this video with your friends, trading friends, and hopefully they can join us in future live sessions so that we can talk more about trading. So I will see you in the next live stream. Take care and enjoy your trading. Bye bye.